Welcome, everyone, to Devil's Advocate. Some of you may recognize this challenge as very similar to Touchy Subjects. We asked all of the contestants in the game and out to fill out a survey, and all 18 players filled out a survey of certain superlatives of the players left in the game. What you will be doing tonight is you will be answering the questions with who you think the majority answered. Every time you answer correctly, you will get a point. So I will give you a chance to first write the answer down. So if the question is, who is your favorite host of Inferno? You will answer who you think the majority says. You'll write it down. And then when I say answers, please, you will give a thumb once you have it written down so we know that you've answered. And then when I say answers, please, you will then hold up the answer, because Topher, if that is the correct answer, will get a point. If the correct answer is Jen, I would not get a point. Okay? Please keep your answer held up until we give you the signal that you can put your paper down. We need to give the judges the chance to score the points. Okay, so I will let you know answers down. All right. Correct.
Feel better, Liam.
All right. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting on Rod to give me the thumbs up that they are ready to go, and we will then begin.
Just to clarify, just because someone's not here tonight does not mean that their vote is not part of the majority for the answers.
Yes, correct. Because it is the majority of what all 18 players that have played this season of Inferno have said.
But the only answers eligible are the people still in the game.
The only answers eligible are the people still in the game.
So if you believe, so even if they didn't just make it to merge, they are still going to be competing in this. Or
they're not competing.
They're not competing. So if you only the 9 of you are eligible to be an answer. So although in the form you could not answer yourself, theoretically, if you believe that you are the majority, you can write yourself as the answer for these questions.
But everybody from Mac on is part of who responded to this.
Correct.
They were surveyed, correct. So it is the most popular answer that anybody.
I'm just shocked that.
Yes. What's up, Liam?
Jen just showed up in your fucking screen. Sorry.
Oh yes, me and Jen are fiancés.
I learned something
like
new
getting
today.
married and live together.
Congratulations, though.
Thank you. January 28th, 2023. It's going to be a beautiful day.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm waiting for my invitation in the mail. It must have gotten lost. I don't know. It's so crazy.
Yeah, we have not actually sent official invitations yet. Save the dates on the other hand.
Well, if you need a wedding singer.
So we are now going to begin as soon as Prod gives me the go ahead that I am ready to start.
By the way, make sure you're on camera at all times.
Oh,
please,
yes.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. We are going to start with the first question. Where's that at?
Weights.
Sorry. I was doing it
No, you're good. I was just like.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to read what's in yellow and in green. Okay. All right. So, all right. So I'm just going to read what's in green. Okay. First question is, who is most likely going to be everyone's best friend outside of the game? Who is most likely going to be everyone's best friend outside of the game? Please hold your thumb up when you have the answer. All right. Answers, please. All right. Aaron said Jess. Joe said Jess. Lucy says Josh. Josh says Jess. Kevin says Jess. Jess says Aaron. Lee says Aaron. And Brian says Kevin. The correct answer is, keep your answers up until I tell you to put your answers down. The correct answer is Jess, Aaron, Joe, Josh, Kevin, all earn. Answers still need to stay up until I say answers down. Sorry. Yep. Aaron, Joe, Josh, Kevin, all earn 1 point. Answers down.
Oh, this notebook like attaches paper.
Next question. Who has the worst social game? Who has the worst social game? Thumbs up when you've written your answer down. All right. Answers, please. Who has the worst social game? Aaron says Liam. Joe says Lee. Lucy says Liam. Josh says Brian. Kevin says David. Jess says Lee. Liam says Liam. And Brian says Brian. Keep your answers up. The correct answer is Liam. That means, keep your answers up. That means Aaron, Joe, Lucy, Jess, and Lee all score 1 point. Answers down. All right, next question. Who has the best strategy? Who has the best strategy? All right, everybody's got their thumbs up. Answers, please. Who has the best strategy? Aaron says Kevin. Joe says Josh. Lucy says Josh. Josh says Josh. Kevin says Josh. Jess says Josh. Liam says Josh. And Brian says Josh. Everybody but Aaron gets a point because Josh has the best strategy according to the survey. Next question. Who could lie to your face without blinking an eye? Who could lie to your face without blinking an eye? All right, thumbs are up. Answers, please. Who could lie to your face without blinking an eye? Aaron says Brian. Joe says David. Lucy says Brian. Josh says Brian. Kevin says Brian. Liam says Brian. Brian says Brian. Jess says David. Nobody gets a point. The correct answer is Lucy. Lucy could lie without ever blinking an eye.
I'm an actress.
And it rhymed.
It's true.
Next question. Who thinks they are running the game, but they are not? Who thinks they are running the game, but they are not. All right, thumbs are up. Answers, please. Who thinks they are running the game, but they are not? Aaron says Lucy. Joe says Lucy. Lucy says David. Josh says Lucy. Kevin says David. Liam says Lucy. Brian says Brian. And Jess says Lucy. Please keep your answers up until we tell you to put them down. The correct answer is Lucy. Aaron's got a point. Joe, keep your answers up, please. Keep answers up, please. Aaron's got a point. Joe gets a point. Josh gets a point. Liam gets a point. And Jess gets a point. Everybody else scores nothing. Next question. Who is the villain of the season? There's two types of players in this world. There are heroes and there are villains. Who is the villain of this season? All right, just waiting on. All right, thumbs up, answers up. Who is the villain of this season? Remember to keep your answers up until I tell you to put them down. Aaron says Lucy. Joe says David. Lucy says Brian. Josh says Brian. Kevin says Lucy. Liam says Brian. Brian says Lucy. And Jess says Brian. The correct answer, the villain of the season, is Lucy. That means Aaron gets a point. Kevin gets a point. Brian gets a point.
I would just like to say that I think sexual women are sometimes like villainized. Yeah. You know, it goes back to like Western organized religion.
Please keep, I agree. Please keep your answers up until we say answers down so we can score them correctly. Did you get everybody? No. Can you put those answers back up, please? All right, Aaron, Kevin, and Brian all get a point. Okay. All right, answers down. Next question. Who doesn't deserve to be in the final 9? Who doesn't deserve to be in the final 9? Y'all made top 9, better than half the cast, but who doesn't deserve it? All right, everybody's got their thumbs up, answers up. Who doesn't deserve to be in the final 9? Aaron answered Liam. Joe answered Lee. Lucy answered Liam. Josh answered Brian. Kevin answered David. Liam answered Kevin. Brian answered Liam. Jess answered Lee. For those watching at home, Lee and Liam are the same person. The correct answer, and please keep your answers up until I say to put them down, is David, which means Kevin gets a point. Next question. All right, answers down. Next question. Who is playing for second? Who is playing for second? All right. Thumbs up, answers up. All right. Aaron says Brian. Joe says Jess. Lucy says Aaron. Josh says David. Kevin says Lee. Liam says Lee. Brian says Brian. Jess says Joe. Brian, you left the camera. All right. The correct answer is Brian. That means Aaron and Brian both get a point. Put your answers down. Next question. Who would be brought back for All Stars? Who is a shoo-in for All Stars? Little did you know, the winner of this question gets an automatic invite back to All Stars. I'm just kidding. That's not necessarily true. All right. All right. Thumbs up, answers up. Okay. Aaron says Lucy. Joe says Josh. Lucy says Lucy. Josh says Lucy. Kevin says Lucy. Liam says Lucy. Jess says Josh. And Brian says Josh. Everybody is wrong. The correct answer is Aaron. All right. All right. Next question. Who is most likely to hear from Randy Jackson? It's a no from me, dog. Randy
I'm gonna
Jackson.
be fair. I have no idea like what this context is at all, so I just guess.
Yeah, it's Randy Jackson was the
American Idol. Like host?
Yeah, the rather pleasant host on American Idol that was always like, man, I'm feeling you. I'm loving everything I'm loving everything you're giving me, but it's a no from me, dog. It's a no from me, dog. All right.
And if he likes you, he'll be like, you're in it to win it.
Yeah. So is that everybody's thumbs? Okay. Thumbs up, answers up. All right. Aaron says Brian. Joe says Joe. Lucy says Lucy. Josh says David. Kevin says Brian. Liam says Lee. Jess says Joe. Brian says Lucy. We actually had a tie for the top answer, which means anybody that answered either of these answers would get a point. So please hold your answers up because the tie is between Brian and Lucy, which means Aaron keep your answers up. Aaron gets a point. Lucy gets a point. Kevin gets a point. Brian gets a point. All right. Now answers down. Next question. Who is the biggest goat of the season? Who is the goat of the season? Not G-O-A-T, but goat, as in
Would you like to further your definition for us newbies, just so that we're clear?
A goat is one that gets dragged, like, to the end. They're not doing anything except being brought along. All right. Thumbs up, answers up. Aaron says Liam. Joe says Brian. Lucy says Liam. Josh says Brian. Kevin says Lee. Liam says Lee. Jess says Aaron. And Brian says Brian. The correct answer, please keep your answers up, is Liam. Aaron gets a point. Lucy gets a point. Kevin gets a point. Liam gets a point. Keep your answers up, please. It is Aaron, Kevin, Lucy, and Liam. All right. Now answers down. Yeah. Okay.
I honestly thought I was gonna be way better at this than I am.
Last question. And if we have to go to some tiebreakers, we will. The last question. Who is going to win this game? Who is going to win this game? All right. Thumbs up, answers up. Answers up. Aaron says Josh. Joe says Josh. Lucy says Josh. Josh says Brian. Kevin says Jess. Liam says Aaron. Jess says Josh. And Brian says Josh. The correct answer of who is going to win this game, keep the answers up, please, is Josh. That means Aaron gets a point. Joe gets a point. Lucy, what was your answer? Sorry. Lucy gets a point. Jess gets a point. And Brian gets a point. Wait for the answers up until I have the thumb. We're good. You can put the answers down. We'll be right back with the results. Well, the hard part is over. You all now know how each other feels about each other. Not just each other, but the whole cast.
I love you all.
Me too. No hard feelings at all. This is all just like some of these answers.
A lot messier.
No, some of these answers, literally, I'm just like, I don't even fucking know. Like, shot in the dark. But not shot in the dark, because that sucks.
I was about to say, not that shot in the dark. 1 in 6 chance.
It's hard to know because so many of the people were out of the game so early. So it's hard to gauge a perception from people like that.
Yeah.
I should have known just put myself for all the bad ones.
I've never seen it where like the entire like pre-jury like also does it. I think that's pretty cool. It changes up a lot because like, you know, who knows how like actively they've been watching the game. Like,
yeah.
And some of them, some of us never met some of them, you know.
Right, exactly. So it's like they're like, who?
I don't know if it's a testament to the cast, but we were able to round up all 18 people to answer the questions. So that's people care. That's all I'm saying.
Good job, everyone. For those watching.
Yeah, thank you for those watching for participating.
Like and subscribe. I don't fucking know. I'm a YouTuber.
Slide up in my DMs.
That's what I do.
Was anyone keeping track of like the score or like know what they got?
We were keeping track over
I think I did.
Okay. I would hope so, Topher.
I tried to keep track of my score, but I think I might have missed a question. But
yeah, I could, but I'd be wrong. That's my answer.
We do not need to go to a tiebreaker challenge. Hold on 1 sec.
Oh. Because we are going to a everyone challenge.
Math is hard.
Yeah. No, honestly.
It is.
Says the accountant.
Yes, I was gonna say, Josh, you're the accountant. Help us out here.
Reconcile those numbers, peeps. Come on.
I could never be an accountant. Like, I don't know how you do it.
Pain.
I have a cousin who wanted to be an accountant for a while, and now she's like a job recruiter.
All right. Oh, wait, hold on.
I had pizza earlier too.
Twinning.
Okay, so yes, in 8th place, getting only 3 out of 12 questions right is Josh. In 6th place, we have a tie. Getting 4 out of 12 questions right is Liam and Jess. In 3rd place, we have a tie between getting 5 out of 12 questions right between Joe, Brian, and Lucy. So 1st and 2nd place. 2nd place got 6 out of 12. 1st place got 8 out of 12. Kevin, you came in 2nd. Aaron, congratulations. You have won individual immunity and a spot in the final 7. You live to fight another day. Final 8. Sorry, there's 9 people. I was confused by the fact there was 1 missing tonight. Yes, final 8, Aaron. Congratulations. Everybody else, I will see you Friday night at 10 p.m. for the pit, followed immediately by a live challenge.
If y'all are really nice to me,